Boston approach, Super Cubby 16 Whiskey Romeo.
Flight following doesn't replace VFR flight plans, but a huge percentage of student pilots think it does.
Just depart Hampton Airfield en route to Laconia Airport, currently for passenger 2,500 to 3,000, request flight following.
And that one big misunderstanding causes a lot of failed check rides. And even worse, in the real world, it delays search and rescue for an aircraft that's gone down.
Number 6 Whiskey Romeo, squawk 5157.
5157, 611 Whiskey Romeo.
Hi, I'm Mark Donovan from Falcon Imagery, and in this video, I'm going to go over the myth that VFR flight following replaces a VFR flight plan and how that misconception can lead to check ride failures. But before I do, I wanted to briefly mention my private pilot practical test check ride prep guide booklet that I put together based on the thousands of given hours of flight instruction that I've provided to my students, and that I believe this booklet could be useful for you as well. I'm going to leave a link in the description below if you're interested in checking it out. So without further ado, let's get into it on the myth of how VFR flight following somehow replaces an active VFR flight plan.
816 Whiskey Romeo, contact Boston approach 134.75.
Here's the myth. I'm talking to ATC on flight following. They can see me on the radar, so there's no need for a VFR flight plan. Well, that sounds logical, but it's completely wrong. And when the DPE hears that type of response, that basically opens yourself up for failing a check ride.
816 Whiskey Romeo, Boston approach.
So first, let's just start with the Private Pilot Airman Certificate Standard, or ACS, in particular Area of Operation 1, pre-flight planning, and particularly Task D. And in Task D, you will see under the knowledge areas that it specifically says that a student pilot needs to be able to know all the elements of a VFR flight plan and be able to file, activate, and close a VFR flight plan. So this misconception that you don't need to know anything about a VFR flight plan or ever file, activate, or close a flight plan is just, hogwash, to be honest. And there's reasons for why there's more importance in a VFR flight plan than flight following when it comes to the main purpose of search and rescue operations.
Number 816 Whiskey Romeo, roger, multiple VFR targets in the vicinity of Keene from 2,200 up to 4,500. Change of advisory frequencies approved and radar service terminated.
So any attempt to tell a DPE during your check ride that the need for a VFR flight plan is not necessary because flight following means that you're going to prove to the DPE that you don't fully understand the difference between the two. When it comes to VFR flight following, it's about advisories, safety alerts, and some radar monitoring. But it's not guaranteed that you'll even be able to pick up VFR flight following. It's not a requirement that ATC has to accept every VFR request for flight following. Secondly, it's very important to understand that when it comes to a VFR flight plan, its main objective is when something goes wrong with the flight, that it triggers a search and rescue effort to come looking for you. And I've personally had it happen to me where if I landed at a destination airport and when 30 minutes have gone by, I wound up getting a phone call looking, where am I? Am I safe? Am I down? And of course I say, yes, I'm down. And they say, could you please close out your flight plan? But that's the value that the VFR flight plan offers. In the event you go down, go missing or something, within 30 minutes of when you were supposed to arrive, search and rescue operations are going to start. First with phone calls to you, phone calls to maybe the FBO that you're renting the aircraft from. And then eventually they're going to go out and get the resources to, maybe it's Civil Air Patrol, to come out and start looking for you. And in addition, they'll have information about your flight to give them an idea of what's the maximum radius that you could have gotten lost by knowing how much fuel you have on board and knowing what your fuel duration is. They'll know where you were headed, how many souls were on board. So this information that you put in the VFR flight plan is not provided when you're asking for VFR flight following. So that's the major differences between VFR flight following and an active VFR flight plan. And if you can't delineate the two and explain that to the DPE, they're going to see that you're weak in that area and very possibly could fail you on the check ride during the oral portion because of that lack of knowledge. So no filed and activated VFR flight plan equals no automatic search and rescue to come looking for you. And if you think that simply telling a family member or a friend when you're expected to arrive at a destination port is going to be adequate, think again. They don't know when exactly where you were supposed to arrive. They don't know how long they should wait before they might start to get worried. They don't know who to call. And so take advantage of VFR flight plans to basically be there as a backup to initiate a search and rescue in a timely manner. Because when it comes down to it, time does matter on a downed aircraft.
Frequency change approved advisory. Squawk VFR, Super Code 816 Whiskey Miller. Thanks, have a good day.
So this is the typical scenario that plays out during the oral exam. After the nav log and the flight plan has been put together and reviewed by the DPE, and you've kind of communicated all the high points of that nav log, the DPE will say, well, are we going to file and activate a VFR flight plan today for this check ride? And if your response is, and this is where the trap is, no, we're just going to use VFR Flight Following. Well, that is what raises the eyebrows to the DPE. It becomes clear to them at that point that you don't understand the difference between a VFR flight plan and VFR Flight Following. And that is a safety risk, and everything about that check ride and aviation in general is about risk management. And you've just failed to communicate that you understand how you're mitigating risk during the safety of the flight by not taking advantage of VFR flight plans. And in the real world, this matters the most. If you go down to a remote area and flight following loses you on radar, that's the end of flight following. If you have an active VFR flight plan, well, that's what triggers and initiates a search and rescue for help. Think of it as flight following as help while you're flying, and a VFR flight plan is about help when you're not flying, when you've gone down. So if you want to be able to pass your check ride and be a safer pilot, you need to understand the whys a little bit more and not just the steps. And in this case here, you need to understand why we use flight following and why we use VFR flight plans. I'm going to show you this next clip briefly how using 1-800-WXBrief.com you can file and activate and close a flight plan. With the web-based tools or even on your phone, you can sit there and file a VFR flight plan with 1-800-WXBrief.com. Very, very useful and good tool to check into if you haven't done it before. And you can set it up so that your phone can be used to activate and close the flight plans just before you take off or after you land. So take a look at this little video clip. This is from a video I did maybe a year or two ago, and you'll learn that it's very easy to file and activate these VFR flight plans. So once we're in the 1-800-WXBrief.com's website, what we care about today is, again, filing a flight plan. So we go over Plan and Brief, click on that. It comes up, and we can select the aircraft we want to fly. I'm going to fly November 405 Sierra Bravo. It's going to be a VFR flight. It's going to be general aviation, only one aircraft in this flight. It's a PA-28. It's a low wake turbulence. Here for the aircraft equipment, you've got a nice drop-down menu. You can just, I have a VOR in the aircraft, DME, and GPS. We've selected those. We just hit OK. Departure airport, we'll out of Laconia Airport. We'll plan to leave on 5/26/24. We'll put the time in Zulu. We'll say 2200, and that's in UTC time or Zulu. Our cruise speed's a little bit slower than that. We're going to be 105 knots, N0105 for 105 knots. We're going to fly to Auburn Lewiston, which is heading toward the northeast, so we're going to fly an even plus 500, so we're flying altitude of 5,500. For surveillance equipment, we're going to have Mode S transponder with the ADS-B in and out, so that's selected. It's DCT for direct route. No other information I need to put in there. Destination, we're going to put Kalu Airport. Lapse time in flight, I could actually go through and calculate what it's going to take for that flight. Let's just go ahead and calculate that. And it'll tell me how long I think it's going to do. About 31 minutes. So it actually put the 31 minutes in there for me. And so we have a text that came in. We can take a look at it. We see that we have an email here, or text. So we have a Leidos flight service announcement. System will respond to each user command. reply 1 to enter the activate, cancel menu for the aircraft scheduled to depart Laconia at 17:30. I could click on, just hit 1, hit enter, and so now it's giving me the opportunity to either hit Y to activate the flight plan, C to cancel the flight plan, or X for the main menu. You can also use other tools to file, activate, and close VFR flight plans, such as ForeFlight. So that's how you file and activate and close VFR flight plans, and why they're so important to understand for your check ride, and even more so for real-world operations. If you have any comments or questions on this video, please leave them below, and I will try to respond to them as time permits. Before I leave, though, however, make sure you check out my private pilot practical test check ride prep guide. Again, it's a guide that I put together based on thousands of hours of given flight instruction, and a document that I use with my students all the time, and I think you might find some value in it as well if you're nearing a check ride. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you get notified on my next video.
Well, I got some exciting news here. I am wearing a new set of sunglasses from Flying Eyes. I've been wearing off and on a pair of aviator sunglasses that I got in the 70s when my father was stationed at Andrews Air Force Base, and they were heavy, thick on the sides here, and they didn't make a very good seal with the headset. And they're also polarized, so it made it really tough to see screens like G1000 or Garmin G5 like I have here. And so when Flying Eyes reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to have a pair, give them a shot? I said, absolutely. And I've been wearing them now for a couple flights now, and they are phenomenal. Extremely lightweight. After a 2-hour flight yesterday, absolutely didn't even realize I had them on when I took them off later on. In regards to the sides here, they're extremely thin. You can see that they're probably just a millimeter, a couple millimeters thick at the most, and they slide on very easy when I've got my headset on. So, and looking outside, just absolutely great views and lots of ultraviolet protection, and they're non-polarized, so I get a nice sharp image when I'm looking down at my Garmin G5 here. Anyways, if you're interested in getting a pair of these Flying Eyes sunglasses, I'll leave a link in the description below along with a discount code so you can get a little bit of savings if you decide to buy them.